Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. Unfortunately, today we are unable to be with all four of us because unfortunately Sam is feeling a little bit unwell and a little bit under the weather. So, unfortunately, it is just us three today, but the show still goes on. How are we, boys?
Very well, mate.
Yeah, good. A bit nervous about this week's game, but
very nervous, aren't we? Fucking hell. But anyway, we'll get straight into it. So obviously we're playing against the GWS Giants this weekend. Sunday 3:25 game. Or maybe it's 3:20. It's one of the two. But and obviously we're playing them at Giants Stadium, which I don't think they've played this year, have they? Or have they played? I don't think they have.
No,
I think they've always played in Canberra.
There's quite a few in, Monica Oval.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm sure they would have played one, surely.
Yeah, probably. But so obviously we'll move on to the last time we met. So this was last year, and we obviously lost the win by 14 points. Duff, do you have many memories of this game, mate?
Oh, no, definitely not. I think it was round 3. I think we all turned it off to turn on the Melbourne Geelong game, which was a tight one. So, yeah, it's one of those, dead rubber games that you don't really care about, especially after last year. The end of the year wasn't particularly great. Yeah.
Especially, is there anything to add, and especially on a certain last game for a certain Carlton legend?
I didn't watch that game after halftime. I watched the Geelong Melbourne game. I think also the last time we played them up there, it was halfway through the last season. That was ugly as well. Yeah. It was a 6-goal loss, but it was much worse than 6 goals. So that was bad, but hopefully we can do better than that this week.
I don't know if we were in lockdown then, because I think I maybe even went to the I know for the last game of the season we were, but I don't know about the one during this the season. But
I think anyway, moving on. I think it was around that time where we were near the West Coast of that where we can play here. So I don't know if it was a lockdown, but the rules were tight.
Yeah, very tight. Yeah, no. Anyway, moving on. So hopefully we don't go back into lockdown, boys. But anyway, moving on. So obviously few of the boys against their old side, really. Just name a few: Matthew Kenny and Zach Williams. Obviously during the week, Matthew Kenny signed a 3-year deal, which is terrific to see. And also is his 50th game for the club, which that's come up very quickly. Because when did he move to Carlton?
2018 was his debut.
2018. Yeah, it's gone quick. But and obviously the big news during the week, not on to do with our club, but it's actually to do with Giants, with their coach actually choosing to step down, or maybe he got sacked. We don't know. The media doesn't really like, or maybe the club doesn't really like to release that certain news. But Leon Cameron obviously is playing his final game of this of his career at Giants this weekend. Speech, what's your thoughts on that?
I think, when the coach is coaching their last game, it's that the players always seem to get around, like we saw with Collingwood and Bucks last year, and it's a bit nerve-wracking. We're sort of a bit shaky at the moment in terms of our lists and who's healthy, and then they've got reasonably healthy squad with all to play for their coach one last time, so it's a bit scary.
Yeah, Daffy boy, anything to add?
Yeah, obviously it's a bit nervous, but I think we need to take that out of the game. If you're a good side, you still beat them, despite even if they try a bit harder, which sounds bad.
Melbourne's a good team, and they lost to Collingwood last year, so
I guess. But, I think we need to get the job done. End their season this week. End their fucking season.
Absolutely spot on. So we'll move on to obviously the players that we brought into our extended bench. We don't know if they're 100% playing, but obviously we'll start with Giants. So they have no outs, but we don't know if all three will be playing. But obviously they brought in Connor Stone, Jake Riccardi, and Tanner Bruin, which is two pretty handy ins with Jake Riccardi and Tanner Bruin. I don't know if they'll be playing, but obviously we know how good Jake Riccardi is. Has been probably maybe like 2 or 3 games where he's had pretty standout games. And also Tanner Bruin is a potential superstar in the coming years. But Speech, what's your thoughts on their ends?
I think Riccardi hit 9 in the twos a couple of weeks ago, so he's in some decent form, and he's just one of those players that he pops up when you think you got the other forwards covered. He just comes up and kicks a bag. So if he plays and with our lacking back line at the moment, it'll be a little scary. But other than that, I mean, they just sort of got a well-rounded team, the Giants, but that doesn't overly play to their expectations. So it's interesting, but I think shouldn't be too worried in saying that.
Ethan Duffy.
Yeah, so I think I rate Riccardi quite highly, but I think he's one of those guys that struggles to translate his form from twos to the ones. Obviously, 9 goals is hard to translate into AFL footy, but I think that's the reason why he's been dropped this season a few times. He's come in and struggled in the ones. Obviously, the Giants have actually struggled all year. But yeah, it's interesting, but nothing to be really worried about. It's not like a Toby Green's coming in or one of those big names.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So we'll move on, obviously, to our ins and outs. So we'll start out with our outs. Obviously, Harry Mackay. Very surprising injury during the week, which obviously we've spoken about quite a bit during the week, and really unfortunate. Quite pissed off, to be honest, to actually to hear something like that. A big key injury, probably one of if not the most important player on our team. Harry Mackay, obviously, he's injured, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Also, Jack Martin. Once again, just that 1 to 2 week injury, which, I mean, we spoke about it last episode, I think, but just once again, like another injury with Jack Martin. So obviously we'll see how that turns out, but hopefully he's back as soon as possible. And one surprising one, I mean, it's not really surprising anymore because it happens a lot in the AFL nowadays, but Lewis Young out with health and safety protocols. So that's unfortunate because they're 3 pretty big outs. Duffy boy, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just the cherry on the top, I think, Lewis Young, just to really piss us off. Because I thought, Harry going out, I think we can, cover that. Obviously, you can't cover a Coleman medalist fully, but I think, the way our coaches have been really adapting to, injuries and stuff like that this season has been good to see. But Lewis Young going down, that hurts. But you look at the Giants forward line, they don't necessarily have, I think that, Himmelberg, Hogan, but I think, if you bring in a Plowman, they can definitely cover one of those talls.
Yeah. A question just to add on to that, so do you see a Jake Riccardi coming in for that reason?
I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. Depends. He's got to replace someone. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. I don't necessarily watch the Giants all the time, so I don't know who's out of form. But yeah, we'll just have to see.
And then also, they don't really know who we're bringing in and who we're bringing out. So it's not like they would have said, it's not like we would have said, oh yeah, Lewis Young's out. And then they would have said, oh no, Jake Riccardi straight in. I don't think that's how it worked. But obviously since he's named, they have the option now. But Speech, what's your thoughts on our outs?
Obviously, yeah, you don't really want any of them to be out, especially our lack of depth at the moment with key position players, especially down back. It's going to be tough to cover. Obviously, Plowman will come in, but he's going to do so much with his height and stuff. And he'd probably want to be playing on Toby Green anyway. So that's makes it a little bit tougher on who he plays on now. And I think Riccardi, if he comes in for the Giants, it will just really stretch our back 6 because that'll be 4 players that we really got to heavily cover. So that'll be tough. But yeah, hopefully we can get the job done still.
Yeah. And just to quickly just touch on our ins. So obviously we brought in Brody Kemp, which probably he will probably play just because we don't really have any other key stocks really. George Hewitt, he's going to be a test this week. But if he is named, we do expect him to play, of course. Jesse Motlop, potentially in, but we'll touch on that a little bit more, of course, later on. Lockie Fogarty, I think they just name a few players just we don't really expect them to play, but Lockie Fogarty also might be a chance. Lockie Plowman, we probably expect to play, and also Paddy Dow. We're not too sure. But moving on to, of course, out of those players, who do we see kind of seeing to be named as a medical sub? We'll start with you, Speechley.
Well, I think out of 8 players, I think the bench will probably be Plowman, Hewitt if he gets up. Who else we got there? Well, it's tough. I hope probably always will probably stay in, and then I reckon Koch will stay in. I think that'll be the 4, and then I think Fogarty will probably be Medi sub.
Yeah. Ethan, have you got any other
Yeah,
options?
I agree. I agree with that. I think Fogarty's a good medi sub just in terms of, if a mid goes down or a forward goes down, he can just fill that kind of void. One interesting for me is Paddy Dow. I think he'll be in. I think the coaches will adapt Matt Kennedy's time in the midfield. I was looking at it last night, and Pato was saying yesterday, I kind of thought about it. I thought, you still, probably start in the midfield or have plenty of minutes, but he did play predominantly of his junior career up forward. I think, he's a big fella. So considering Harry's out, why don't we just chuck him down there and kick a few snags?
Yeah. Yeah, no, because I know that especially when we traded for him and he actually started playing for Carlton, we probably wanted him to turn into the Dusty Martin sort of player. But obviously he's an absolute go in the midfield. So especially for the next few weeks, why not try him up forward? Because I guess it's his chance really. But I would rather, me personally, and I want your boys' thoughts on this as well. But if we had the choice of either Candy or Cripps to go forward, I want Candy to go forward and Cripps to stay in the midfield and stay as that midfielder who kicks goals. But Speech, who's your thoughts if you had the option?
Yeah, obviously we've seen both of them can go forward and both kick goals. But yeah, I'd rather Kennedy go forward and leave Cripps as a midfield ball. But I know you've got it written down there a little bit further. But if Matt De Boer is going to Cripper and he can't shake the tag, then I think Cripper forward would be a good strategy there. Yeah,
Daffy boy, you agree?
Yeah, 100% agree. I think you can't really take a potential Brownlow medalist out of his informed position. He's been dominating and he'll still go up forward, I think. So that might be a good thing, Kenny might start up forward, they might rotate. So I'll touch on it later, but they're not necessarily under the pump, but the coaches have got to find ways, and I'm actually really interested to see what they do. So keen.
Yeah, spot on. So we'll go back to you, Daffy boy, for of course the key matchups.
Yep. So key matchups, they're obviously hard doing it before the, full sides are out. So, I don't really want to do potential, I guess, but we'll start off with probably a lock of a matchup is Jesse Hogan versus Wiedering. I feel Wiedering's done okay this year. Locking, his opponents haven't really dominated games of footy, but I still think Wieders can, lift his game to the standard we know and love. Speechy, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I don't rate Jesse Hogan at all. I think he's been completely overrated his entire career since he won Rising Star over Cripper, however the hell that happened. I just don't rate him at all. So I think Weeders has got him covered at all. And this could be a Souvlaki moment. I don't care, but do not rate him at all.
Yeah. I think the problem with Hogan is his motivation. I think he's got the skill, and he's definitely got the skill, but he just doesn't consistently do it. And that shows you why he's been at 3 clubs. So we'll move on to you, Pattinson. Are you to provide us a Souvlaki moment, like Speechley?
I need to be very careful, boys, because I don't want to go back to those sort of moments. But Jesse Hogan reminds me of a bit like a Jeremy Finlayson, to be honest. A lot of potential, a lot of talent. Of course, a former Giant, Jeremy Finlayson. But once again, Jesse Hogan, he can go 1 disposal and 0 goals, and then the next week he can turn out and kick 6 goals with best on ground. So he's that sort of player. He's that sort of potential. But I think Jacob Wiedering should lock him down. As we mentioned, he is a rising star player. So winner, sorry. But it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. But once again, I think this is probably a perfect matchup for Jacob Wiedering.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's hard to judge a matchup in back, a D50, because we don't know how we're going to set up defensively. Is Plowman coming in? Who's going to be, is Kent playing down back? Is he going to be helping out Wiedering, being that intercept mark option? It's going to be interesting. I'm actually excited by the prospect of having a different type of side. I think if we can win this game, it's going to be huge for our confidence. I think we're already confident, but that'll just lift it. Now, moving on, Big Prusy, he's talked about a lot in the last few years, just been that unlucky second ruckman when he was at the D's and at the Kangas behind Goldstein for a couple of years there. And now he's got his time to shine. He's done well. He's done extremely well. And we take it on our young Tommy DeConning, who got Riley O'Brien dropped from the Crom. So it was a great performance by Teddy K last week. What are your thoughts on this, Speechley?
Obviously Bruce he's really taken that number 1 ruck spot at the moment quite well for the Giants this season. So he's another real big body. So another big test for them, that opposite sort of ruckman TDK. But I think if he can carry that form he had against Riley O'Brien and really keep going with these around the ground sort of stuff and those intercept marks, then I think he should be fine. And then if our mids can adjust again like they normally do, then I think we'll be fine.
Yep, spot on. Pattinson.
Yeah, I think this is once again just another matchup that TDK has kind of like he's played against the O'Briens. He played like it's kind of once again just the same sort of ruckman, and his strength is obviously he's getting more touches around the ground. He's probably running a lot better than his opponents as well. And once again, I think the midfielders should probably expect, especially in the ruck contest, to lose that aspect of the game. But I think TDK like he's talented, and I think all this confidence, like all these games of confidence, it's only going to help him. So once again, I think Bruce will probably win this contest, but around the ground, it will be a different story.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think Bruce is really good around the stoppage, especially hit outs, just being that bigger fella. He's, the size of a rugby player. He's a big boy, but I think TDK is that more, modern ruckman, being able to do more, being that like fourth midfielder in a sense. And I think he showed that last week. So we'll move on. I think these two players are very, very similar. And I think, obviously Cribber being the bull, and I think the best midfielder in the comp this season so far, against a younger Tom Green, who I think is probably up there with the Giants' best midfielder. I think he could be the best midfielder there. What are your thoughts on this, Pattinson?
Yeah, I personally think that he probably is right now the best. I mean, in form. Obviously, you can't really forget like Josh Kelly, Cornelio, even if he gets running. But Tom Green's he's a great footballer. I know that like a lot of the media has been speaking about maybe Cripps and Green, like they're kind of comparing the two players together, really. But how old is Tom Green? Is he 20, 22, 21?
21?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yes. So he's still young, like 21. But I know that I've watched a few Giants games this year, and I know that he's definitely been a standout. So it's gonna be a great contest. But once again, we know how good Chris has been this year. So let's hope he continues his form.
Eventually.
Yeah, obviously, Tom Green's a great player. It's not very often you get two T Greens in your team, and they're both elite. But it's Cribbo is obviously the better player, but it's just I just don't know how quickly Tom Green has come and probably gone past the likes of Josh Kelly and those other sort of midfielders. So be a good contest inside. I think both really heavily contested balls, and it's a be a good contest.
Well said, Speechley. Now on to our only key forward we have left at the football club that's actually fit, and it's actually the one that hasn't been fit, isn't it? It's Charlie Curnow. It's Charlie Curnow, who's in career best form, in my opinion, against Taylor, who I think has locked down some, key pillar. I think
kept Hawkins to nothing last week.
Yeah, that's right. So what do you think about that matchup, Speechley? I think Curnow obviously being probably a bit better than Taylor, but we'll see. What are your thoughts?
I think obviously with Curnow being the main attraction up forward for the first time this season, it'll be a bit of a new role you have to adjust to this season, whereas I think Taylor's been used to taking out the number one forward. So he knows his role, whereas Charlie not so much in terms of this week. But I still think it'll be an interesting matchup. I mean, Charlie probably still hopefully kick a few snags, but I think it won't come as easy as it might have been in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of a mosquito fleet type of forward line this week. Obviously, not having big H, the big 200 centimeter fella. So, what do you reckon, Pato?
Yeah, I think this is also a good opportunity just to see, because I know that we saw it a bit last year. I think North Melbourne is the game that comes to mind. That we did have a very small forward line, and key forward stocks. What are you talking about? We have Matt Owies down there. We have the big Matt Owies down there. So he might be a target down there. But I think Charlie Curnow, with his form, I think top 3 in the common. He's playing a great brand of footy. So I think once again Taylor, as we said, he's been pretty good this year, and especially over the past couple of years, has been pretty good. But I hope Charlie Curnow, especially, it's going to be interesting to see how Charlie goes, especially since he's there without his partner in crime, really, Harry Mackay. So it's going to be interesting to see. But let's hope Charlie Curnow can get the job done.
Yep, I think he will, but it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a bit more of a Owies and stuff need to be getting more goals this week. I think Harry and that have been. I think I don't know. There's some average between them both each game, which has really lifted us and led us to these 48 and 50-point wins in the past 2 weeks. Now, one more matchup. It's involved Cripper again. Matt DeBoer, will he tag Cripper? Speechly.
I think he probably does, but I think with us at the moment, it's kind of a good thing. If he does, all he's doing is not letting Cripper get Brownlow votes this week. I don't think it helps them win in any way because our midfield will just step up. You have Walshy, Hewitt if he plays, and Chera in there as well. So I think all he's doing is not getting Cripper Brownlow votes and not having any impact on whether GWS win or not.
Pattinson.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really add there. I just think the Giants probably are one of the teams that do like to tag, especially if there is an outstanding player like Cripper in their team. So once again, I think Matt DeBoer will probably either him on Perriman. I don't know. They do have a few options there, which does kind of annoy me because I don't really like teams that like to tag players, especially if they're pretty much a game changer, really. But yeah, I think he will just because that's probably the only chance that they can really have to stop Cripper.
Spot on. Now we'll move on to Under the Pump. Pato.
Yeah, so we'll go back to you, Speech, on because I've read through them, but I think yours is quite interesting. So what's your under the pump, mate?
Yeah, so it's not a player or someone that's been underperforming as such. It's more who needs to step up and who needs to really, play out of their skins. And I've gone the midfield brigade this week, who really needs to have a big impact on the game because with our lack of tools at either end of the ground, we need to firstly protect our back six and not let the ball come in quick. And in that regard, and also when we have the ball, when we go moving up forward, we need to be able to hit targets better, not just bomb it in. So it's a big week for the midfield to really focus on both aspects of the game, both defensively and using the ball well going forward.
Yeah. And just to add a question to that, I mean, obviously our midfield is probably our strength in our team, but also for GWS, do you see it being the same sort of their midfield is probably their strength as well?
I think they've got, especially this week, they've got more options around the ground, but I think, probably in general, you're probably right, but I still think our midfield's clear. Yeah,
spot on. Duffy boy?
Yeah, so obviously it's hard to put players under the pump considering we've won the last 2 games. And I touched on it before, but it's more not under the pump, but just kind of under the pump. But the coaching staff, obviously they're under the pump due to injuries and COVID outs, etc. I'm actually keen to see what they can do, and I think it shows. I think the last few years, our different coaches we've had, Bolton and Teague have really struggled to adapt to injuries. I don't know, there's the different ways, putting Liam Jones forward against Melbourne that year and all that type of stuff. I'd rather see, the coaches adapt in a better way that's more suitable for our system. And I think they can do it. I think, if they can do it this week, that'll scare some teams because if they go, geez, if Harry's out and they're winning games with, a small forward line with just Kerno, geez, watch out. But keen to see what they can do.
Yep. And mine is pretty much just to kind of add on to both of you guys. Mine's just the whole football club. Once again, just to add on again, but we are the underdogs against a 15th place side, which is quite interesting because obviously during the week,
top 4 be bottom 4.
but it's quite interesting because we were favourites during the week, and we kind of, everyone kind of expected with our brand of footy this year, especially to beat this side. And once again, with our outs and also with what they have on the line with their final game for their coach, really, obviously they're going to stand up. But I don't think we should be afraid. I think a lot of the time, what I've seen the past couple of years of coaches leaving and stuff, it kind of does annoy me when the team does show up for their coach in that certain game, because I'm like, the coach would probably at the end of the game be like, well, where has this been all year? Where has this been the past couple of years? So I don't know. I just think that it does piss me off a little that that a lot of the we are kind of going off the punters really with what they have kind of gone with. But it does piss me off that we should have more credit, but also it's a great opportunity because once again, our backs are against the wall and it's going to be interesting to see, but I think it's going to be a great test for us. And then, as you said, Daffy, it's probably going to be arguably our biggest win of the year if we do get the job done. But yeah, so obviously we'll move on to the injury updates just very quickly, just to touch on these. So Harry Mackay, torn meniscus, which is 6 weeks. But hopefully, I think he's had surgery during the week. So
yesterday.
So I think that went all well. But Speech, what's your thoughts on that? Just very quickly.
It's interesting how he was able to play however long it was with a torn meniscus and still play very well. So once he gets surgery for, he obviously doesn't need it. He can still play well with torn meniscus. What's going on? But no, it's good surgery went all well, and hopefully that 6 weeks shouldn't go too long. Had the bye in there as well, so that takes out a week.
Yeah, no, 100%. So just moving on to Lewis Young with the health and safety protocols. We won't really touch on that too much, but George Hewitt, of course, is a test for today. Duff, what's your thoughts on that?
So it'd be a massive in if he's in. I think that'll help the coaches, especially with, sorting out who we can throw forward, especially Kennedy, as we all touched on before. But yeah, huge in. Love Georgie. Love what he brings to the club and what it's been 8 weeks, and we already love him. So I think he's been the recruit of the year, in my opinion, in the AFL.
Yeah. And then obviously our last injury update. It's quite unfortunate that one of our members isn't here because he's probably his number one fan. But of course, Luke Parks. Don't know if it was during the week in training or if it was the VFL. I'm not sure. I'm sure you boys might know. But obviously he's done he has a stress fracture in his foot, really, which is probably going to turn out to be 12 weeks, which is really unfortunate. But it's going to be interesting because he probably wasn't getting that opportunity. I know that he played a few weeks ago, but a few of our defenders have been playing pretty well. So it's going to be interesting. But Speech, just quickly, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's probably the worst time for him to go out with his 12-week injury when we're lacking in defenders at the moment. But yeah, definitely wishing him all the best in that recovery. Yeah.
And Dav, anything else to add?
Yeah, well, I was talking last night with my old man about Omac, how unlucky he is. Like, he'd be playing this week if he was fit, and he must be fuming because I think it was very similar at Melbourne where they had a few key backs ahead of him and he just couldn't get a go and wasn't fit enough when he could get a go. So he's just been unlucky. So I feel for Omac.
Yeah, no, of course. Obviously, we'll move on to the match predictions. We'll start with you, Speechly. Very interesting to see what happens here.
So I've gone Jackie Carroll to get the first snag again, playing on a more half-forward role with Hewitt back in. Then I have, going back to my super lucky Colin Hogan, I've gone Wiedering to be our best on. I think he'll just absolutely give him a bath and just easily best on. And then, but Giants by 10.
Oh. Giants by 10. Oh, Speech, there it is. But I mean, I can't really argue it. I mean, we are the underdogs. But Daffy boy, what's your thoughts on the predictions? How do you see the game playing out?
Yep. So I've got first goal, Charlie Curnow. Obviously, being the only forward we've fucking got. So on you, Charlie. Best on ground. Not going to change this the whole year. Just put Brownlow. It's going to be there. Cripps. And then tip Carlton by 2 points in a nail biter.
All right. So I thought I was being quite lenient, to be honest, towards the GWS Giants. But my predictions, I'll go through it quickly. So first goal, Jack Savani. I think it's a good test for him to step up, especially with Harry Mackay going down. It gives him that chance to be that key forward. Best on ground. He's playing against his former side. I was going to go Zach Williams, but I've chosen to go with Matt Kennedy. I reckon he'll get 33 touches with 3 goals, especially playing a little bit more forward. And my tip for the Blue Baggers is 31 points. I believe that if we get running, and I think the first quarter matters the most, but if we get running, 31 points for the Baggers. But boys, anything else to add?
Just Sam's predictions as well. He's got here Owi's first goal, Cripper best on, and then Baggers by 4 points for Sam.
Baggers by 4, yeah. No, I love it. But obviously the VFL, we are having a bye this week, but obviously I don't think that there's anything more else to add, really. But anything else, boys?
Just get it done, boys.
Just hope my predictions are wrong.
Yeah. And as always, boys, up the Baggers. Can't even see the scarf. There it is. Up the Baggers.